Hello guys, welcome back, and today we're gonna be talking about Hero of Remnant. So yeah, let's begin, ladies and gents. We would currently see Izuku and the rest of Team RWBY and Dr. Oobleck, and also the freaking dog there, aka Zwei, as they're currently going on top of the train. As when they dug on top of the train, they would start moving out to try and, stop the train from, you know, from crashing into, Vale's walls and causing, multiple grim to come out of there to basically slaughter the whole thing. So, as Izuku and the girls, were walking, or more like running towards where the actual engine is, they would get stopped by multiple they would be stopped by multiple White Fang members, each with different weapons, as Dr. Oblique would say this. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to, or at least most of you, to go down there to try and stop the White Fang from down below. And as for me and Miss Ruby over here, we'll be taking care of the upstairs and try to stop the conductor right there. After saying it, Izuku and the girls would agree. So they would say goodbye to Ruby and they would start going inside of one of the train cars. And as for Ruby and and Professor Oobleck, or Dr. Oobleck, they would charge right in, charging towards the White Fang that were near there. No. Now, we would go to the perspective of Izuku and the rest of the girls, specifically that of Weiss, Yang, and Blake. So, we would go to Weiss, as Weiss would go down with the rest of team, the few Team RWBY members, or at least Team RWBY, except for Ruby herself. They would start going inside the cars, as they would see just a few White Fang members, as they would say, "What in the... What are you doing?" As before they can actually react, Weiss would jump in using her rapier, Master, to stab one of them, causing them to be knocked out. As for the others, Yang would rush in using her, using her semblance to basically punch them all the way to hell. For Blake, she would use her weapon to basically jump around, swinging her, scythe-like not scythe, but more like, I guess you could say like, Kusarigama type weapon, while also using it in its more, long-range form. And as for, Izuku, he would see one White Fang member that's a spider, or at least a spider faunus, would jump on him. As before he can actually strike, Izuku would grab onto his weapon, revealing its newest form. Revealing his, axe Kopesh would start transforming into some sort of staff. Doing so, it would start to glow a weird hard-like energy, almost similar to hard-like dust in a way. Wait for a second. After transforming it into a more staff-like form, one of them would say, guys, as the spider-like faunus would look towards the others, as they're already knocked out, as he would say, "For fuck's sake," he would say. As before he can actually react, Izuku would throw some sort of ball from the inside of the ring, as it would rush towards him, causing a little explosion, knocking him out. After doing so, he would say, "That was easy," he would say. As one of them would say, "Yeah," said Blake. As before they can, get ready to get out of there, or specifically go to the next cart, or, the next cart, they would be stopped by 3 White Fang lieutenants, each with different weapons, and one person there, being that of our lovely, revealing that of Neapolitan, as she would be wielding up her umbrella, as she would be looking towards Izuku with, well, a smile that's literally just death itself. As Izuku would notice this, as he would say, "This girl, she's definitely going to be annoying to battle with," he would say, as one of them being that of As Grey Roll would say, Izuku, use my powers this time. Though it's not going to be useful in this case, but using binding curses would be easy. As Izuku would say this, very well then, Grey Road. Now, commandment, pacifism, he would say. After saying it, the now ice cream girl would rush towards him to try and strike him down. And as for, the three others, they would start fighting the White Fang lieutenants, each with their own weapons. As we would go to the fight scene of between him and Neapolitan. So, as the fight begins, we currently see a pretty pissed off, a pretty pissed off ass ice cream girl as she would rush towards Izuku with her umbrella to stab him. While doing so, Izuku would evade her attacks as he would use one of his abilities in Grey Road, or at least one of the abilities of pacifism, or in this case, just Grey Road in general. He would say, "Now, curse." He would say, saying this, the girl would start feeling her body being binded to the ground. Doing so, she would say this to herself. "What is this?" she would say. And remember, she's mute, so she's not actually saying it. As Izuku would say this. This is going to be easy, he would say. As he would start using his arms, as they would slowly start transforming into that of some sort of axe. Or not really axe, but more like, a club, as you would uses momentum to basically strike at her, causing her to basically fall, starting to go flying. Doing so, he would say, "Though pacifism doesn't affect me, in this form it's definitely going to affect me a bit." After saying this, he would look towards the girl once again as she would rush towards him as she would start firing her umbrella similar to that of a gun. As doing so, he would start shape-shifting a bit to basically transform into different types of animals to escape her attacks. Doing so, she would be surprised, but also pissed off, as he would also start using another ability, being that of, as he would activate the commandment of purity. Doing so, well, remember, if I remember correctly, or at least when I'm looking at the wiki right now, apparently purity's ability is that anyone who commits impure deeds in in the presence of the user will be inflicted with illnesses. Yeah, I'm not going to say let's per se that, but any impure deed, like for example shooting at people, for example. So as when she was firing at, how do I see it, at a rapid speed, she's also hitting her own men. Doing so, she would start feeling something in her as she would start coughing up something. Doing so, what the fuck was that? Wait, sorry about that. It seems like the neighbors are fighting again. Great. So anyway, as we see her start coughing up something, doing so, she would start noticing that there was blood in her hands. As when she noticed this, Izuku would come in and would start using Combo Star, but not too much to essentially just rip her, tear her organs out from the inside out. As doing so, he would start punching her, going 1, 2, 3, 4. As each strike would start pummeling her, as one final strike would be a kick from him, causing her to be, well, to be thrown off the window. Doing so, it was that of an illusion, as the now I guess could say almost mangled body of Neapolitan, or Neo, would turn into glass. Doing so, he would notice this as he would look behind him and would see a somewhat angry ish, a now somewhat angry-ish Yunio would get ready to strike him with the now sword-like form, or at least I guess you'd say rapier-like form of her, of her sword, not sword, I meant her umbrella. As she was about to strike, Izuku would jump out of the way and would start using another, commandment. As before she can actually strike, Izuku would dodge out of the way as he would use another ability, or should I say another commandment, being that of, as he would say, commandment. Now, commandment, piety, he would say. Doing so, he would start using another ability of piety, or not really piety, but more like, the actual user of piety. Doing so, he would start using Hellblaze, or at least a tiny bit of Hellblaze, to basically propel himself from from the attack. Doing so, he would use Hellblaze once again to basically throw a fireball at her, causing her to dodge out of the way, but also gaining a bit of damage from the flames. As doing so, she would use her semblance to try and escape. And I mean try, as before she can actually do it, she would be knocked out by Yang after her fight with the White Fang Lieutenant. Wait for a second. As Izuku fell, after Izuku saw this, Yang would basically, try and punch her right in the stomach. But before she can, another thing happens, being that of a certain someone coming in from the side. Being that of the remaining White Fang member that was somewhat, somewhat hurt, as he would fire off a shot aiming towards Yang. As before she can actually dodge, Izuku would jump in and use his, commandment, using another Hellblaze attack to basically burn away the bullet. But doing so, it would distract Yang enough to cause her to be kicked right in the face by Neo. Doing so, she would disappear using her semblance, as he would say, "Damn it!" As after saying that, one of them would say, "It's alright, Izuku. At least you're okay." As he would say, "Yeah, but..." Anyway, we should probably go back to RWBY. As they would say, "Right." They would all agree and they would start going towards the actual... Wait for a second. Starting to leave to try and find where Izuku... Or, not Izuku, I meant where or at least start going towards the actual engine of the train. As when they're about to, go into the next cart, they would be attacked by more White Fang members, which they would also defeat. As while they were doing so, one person would be watching them. A woman with a grim-like mask, but definitely not a fauness. She seems to have really dark hair, completely long, and her clothes seem to resemble that of a somewhat Asian, or more specifically Japanese-inspired clothing. As you would say, you've certainly grown up quite fast, and quite powerful, though not powerful enough. Though, that man, I believe his name is Izuku Ironwood. I hope he conquers my daughter's heart. Doing so, she would disappear, going inside of some sort of portal. As we would go to another perspective. As we go to the perspective of Cinder and her crew, as they're currently getting a message from a certain witch. As after being told of their next objective, she would say, being that of Cinder, "Very well then, we should prepare now. It's soon coming," she would say. As after that, they would start leaving to go to where the train is going to crash. And so, this is where we're going to be leaving off this new episode. So, yeah, bye-bye, guys!